Part 35. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Ching Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 341. Li Fangli also said, "That's right, we are just curious." Den you couldn't bear it anymore. Curious? What's there to be curious about? Isn't it because everyone in the country knows that today is the day of the college entrance examination? Those people think that in order to rush for time and successfully take the exam, we will listen to them in everything, so they dare to touch it? Porcelain me. I almost failed the college entrance examination. You don't know how to comfort me, but you still scold me. Don't you want me to get a good grade in the exam? Li Fangli looked very unjust and said, "Okay, why are you crying? We are just asking." Deng Feiong also said, "Yeah, why are you wronged? As parents, can't we even ask?" Den Yu is very tired. His parents are like this every time. It was obviously someone else's fault, but she was the one who got scolded every time. Den Yu thought about the exam in the afternoon and said hesitantly, "Dad, Mom, I'm worried that I'll encounter another troublemaker in the afternoon. Can you send me there?" Deng Feiong refused without thinking. "No, it's Monday. I have to go to work later, so I don't have time." "Didn't you say that you met that female classmate again after finishing the Chinese language test?" She said that she had already called the police. There should be police patrolling the surrounding area, and nothing like that would happen again. Li Fangli also said, "How is it possible for you to meet the bad guys twice a day? You walk to school in the morning. I think you took the bus in the afternoon. There are surveillance cameras on the bus and there are many people. Those bad guys don't dare to touch Porcelain." Deng Yu frowned. "I have no money." Deng Feiong was angry. "Didn't I give you 10 yuan every month? Where did you use it?" "Deng Yu, I always have to buy school supplies, but they have been used up a long time ago." Deng Feiong, "Then just walk there." Deng Yu was extremely disappointed. Today at the school gate, she saw some families with their whole family coming out just to encourage their children. She was really envious. Why don't her parents care about her at all? Deng Yu looked pained. "Dad, Mom, sometimes I really want to know if I am your biological child. Why are you so indifferent to me? My grades have always been among the top 10 in my grade, and I have a good chance of getting admitted to Huaxia University. I could participate in provincial and national mathematics competitions before, but because you didn't let me go, otherwise with my grades, I would have been admitted to Huaxia University. University. It's enough for you to destroy me once, why do you want to destroy me a second time?" Li Fangli said angrily, "How did we destroy you? Didn't we let you study? Didn't we let you take the college entrance examination? I have raised you for more than 10 years and I don't know how to be grateful at all. It's really annoying." Deng Feiong also said, "Why do I work so hard every day? It's all for you. I also have to work, so I can't send you off. Why do you resent us so much? It's really sad." Li Fangli said, "Since you have such objections to us and are afraid of being criticized by others, then you don't need to take the college entrance examination, and you won't have to go out later." Deng Yu was stunned and said in disbelief, Mom, you actually don't want me to take the exam? Today is the college entrance examination." Xiaoning Xuan, who came to see the situation invisibly, frowned. "These parents are also intoxicating. Even if they are not your biological children, if your children have such good grades, you can still be filial to them when they graduate and get a high salary." Li Fangli snorted, "You are afraid of this or that, so there is no need to go." Deng Feiong also said, "Yes, if you don't go to college, I will save money, and I won't have to work so hard in the future." After the two of them finished speaking, they cleared away the dishes. After cleaning up, he locked the door and left, locking Deng Yu at home. Deng Yu didn't expect his parents to be so cruel. He suddenly became anxious and slammed the door. "Dad, Mom, I was wrong. Just let me take the college entrance examination. I will never be like this again." But the door was already closed. People. Deng Feiyong and Li Fangli walked a few hundred meters away and looked in the direction of their houses at the same time. "Li Fangli, do you think this is too much?" "Deng Feiyong, what can we do? If the daughter we finally raised goes to college, if she goes to other places and finds a foreigner to marry, who will provide for us in old age?" "You are right. Our health is getting worse every year. Will we have to take care of each other when we get sick?" Li Fangli thought about her own pension issue, and her previous thoughts were instantly thrown out of her mind. "You are right. There is a couple in the same community whose children go to university in other places, meet their husbands from other places, and get married, but they never come back once a year. If something happens at home, you can only ask your neighbors for help." Once or twice, the neighbors were willing to help. But as time went by, my neighbors were busy with a lot of things, so I didn't want to take care of them anymore. Once an old lady fell in the toilet in the middle of the night and couldn't move. She called for help in the toilet. The old man was sleeping so deeply that I couldn't wake him up even after shouting for a long time. The old lady didn't have the phone with her, so she couldn't wake anyone up and couldn't think of any other way, so she could only lie down on the ground. After the old man woke up, he saw the old lady in the toilet and hurriedly called the emergency phone. Later, the doctor said that if she had been found half an hour later, the old lady would have been dead. In order for them not to fall into that situation, they would never let their daughter run away to other places. Deng Yu banged the door for 2 minutes, but there was no sound at all from outside. The students on the same floor are also taking the college entrance examination today, but their family conditions are much better than hers. Others directly booked a hotel near the school to rest and were not at home at all. There was no other way, so she had to look for her mobile phone. But there were only 2 mobile phones at home, and Deng Feiyong and Li Fangli took them all away. 5 minutes later, Deng Yu was desperate. "Whoa, how could they do this? They are her parents, why do they treat her like this on such an important day?" Suddenly, she heard a bang. Deng Yu suddenly turned his head and saw Xiaoningsun standing at the door, just retracting his feet. Her door was kicked open by Xiaoningsun just now. Xiaoningsun saw Deng Yu's face bursting with tears and said with concern, "Stop crying, wash your face quickly, get your exam supplies, and I'll go to school with you." Deng Yu nodded and quickly went to the bathroom. Hence, Deng Yu also successfully took the math test in the afternoon. After the math test, Deng Yu walked out of the school and saw many parents asking how their children did on the questions. She was extremely envious. At this time, Xiaoningsun was also asking He Yuan Yang, "Cousin, how did you do with the question?" "He Yuan Yang, I feel it is very simple. They are very common question types. I feel this year's test papers are much simpler than last year's. There must be many high scores in mathematics this year, and the score line must be very high." End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 342. Xiaoningsun smiled and said, "It's okay, just follow fate." He Yuanyang nodded, "That's right." Xiaoningsun turned around and saw Deng Yu standing alone not far away. Xiaoningsun asked her family members for their opinions and heard them say they didn't mind, so she walked towards Deng Yu. She knew exactly what Deng Yu was struggling with. If she went home now, she might not be able to take the exam tomorrow, and she would be scolded again if she went back. Xiaoningsun walked to Deng Yu's side and said, "Senior sister, if you are willing, you can stay at my house for 2 nights. Deng Yu asked blankly, "Is it really okay? Will it trouble you too much?" Xiaoningsun raised her eyebrows and said, "Of course you can." I just told my family that they agreed to let you stay. Den Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, junior sister. She went to borrow a phone from her teacher and made a call home. Unexpectedly, her family members heard her voice and cursed her again, which made her extremely embarrassed in front of the teacher. There was no other way, she could only say that she was going to stay at a classmate's house, and then quickly hung up the phone. The group did not go home for the time being, but went to have dinner first. Den Yu looked at a table of delicious dishes that he had never seen before, feeling a little at a loss. She seemed to be taking too much advantage by relying on Xiaoningsun like this. These dishes look very expensive at first glance, and she doesn't seem to be able to afford them in the future. Xiaoningsun saw Den Yu's thoughts at a glance and said with a smile, "Don't be burdened. If you feel bad, work for me during the summer vacation. I will provide food and accommodation, but the money I will give you may be more than there are fewer others." Den Yu was stunned. Give her a job? Is this really asking her to repay a favor? Isn't this doing her a favor? Xiao Shulan also came over. She also heard what her daughter said about Den Yu's experience, and said softly, "My child, don't be mentally burdened. I have also heard a little about you. For the sake of your future, you will be here these 2 days. Stay in peace." Den Yu thought that if he went back, he would definitely not be able to come out tomorrow, and today's exam would definitely be in vain. She suddenly stood up and bowed solemnly to Lao Qiao's family. "Thank you." Qiao Shulan smiled and told her not to be polite and to eat quickly. After eating, Qiao Kongshen and Ye Kaixiang also returned home. They know that candidates need a quiet environment, and the couple living in Tianling community will definitely affect their rest. Anyway, I have a driver at home, so they can just come by car tomorrow. Xiaoningsun arranged Den Yu in the guest room. As soon as she returned, she found some changes of clothes among her new clothes and sent them to the guest room. Den Yu looked at the room where he was staying. It turned out that the conditions at Xiaoningsun's house were so good. Xiaoningsun came to the door of the guest room, knocked on the door first, and then opened the door. Seeing Den Yu sitting on the edge of the bed a little helpless, he put all his clothes on the bed. The ones on the left are pajamas, the ones in the middle are underwear, and the ones on the right are for tomorrow. I haven't worn them yet. We have similar body shapes, so you can make do with them. Den Yu burst into tears when he saw Xiaoningsun's thorough preparation. Xiaoningsun knew what she was thinking, but still pretended to be confused. "What's wrong?" Den Yu cried and laughed. "It's nothing, I just feel that I can be treated so thoughtfully. I grew up in my grandma's house when I was a child, and it wasn't until I was in elementary school that I returned to my parents. The first time I met my parents, they didn't prepare anything for me, so I wore dirty clothes and went to school for 3 days. Later, my body was too smelly, and the students complained to the teacher, so my mom only let me take a bath, and the clothes she got were old clothes from other people in the community. I'm not afraid of your jokes. Since I was a child, except for school uniforms, I haven't worn many new clothes. They are all old clothes that my mother found everywhere." Xiaoningsun asked, "Your mother did this to you, haven't you ever considered why she did this to you?" Den Yu smiled bitterly and said, "Of course I know. She favors boys over girls. She treats boys from relatives better than she treats me." Xiaoningsun nodded, "Okay, don't think too much, live here with peace of mind, and don't worry about oversleeping, we will call you in advance tomorrow." Den Yu said gratefully, "Okay, thank you very much." Xiaoningsun didn't waste her time anymore and quickly left the guest room to let her wash up. After Den Yu came out, Xiaoningsun brought in a cup of hot milk and asked, "By the way, do you still need to read the review materials? How about I go to my cousin and lend them to you?" Den Yu, "Thank you very much. Please give me the science and English materials that your cousin no longer needs to read. If you are currently reading, you don't need them." Xiaoningsun nodded and quickly brought it to her. At this time, Deng Yu's home. Deng Feiyong and Li Fangli were already lying on the bed, playing with their mobile phones. Li Fangli frowned and said, Deng Yu said just now that she lives with her classmates, but now she dares not go home. Do you think that in the future, Deng Yu will really go to college and not want us? Deng Feiyong, don't worry, I went to ask today. The procedures for our adoption of her back then were legal. Even if she doesn't support us in the future, we can still sue her and ask her for alimony. If she can really get ahead, the more alimony she will be given, which will also be good for us. Li Fangli thought about it and smiled immediately, that's right. She gives us a lot of alimony, and she can hire a nanny for us. If the amount is small, we will go to her place of work to find her and kidnap her morally. Let her go back to work in her hometown so she can take care of us. Deng Feiyong, that's right, so don't think too much and go to bed quickly. Good. On the afternoon of June 9, all the college entrance examination subjects in Nanjing City were completed. To celebrate the end of his high school career, He Yuanyang invited the whole family to a big dinner. Although Deng Yu didn't want to trouble the Chiao family anymore, he couldn't refuse Chiao Ningxun's invitation, so he had to go together. After dinner, the elders all went home to rest, but Chiao Ningxun and several young people continued to play outside. When he was almost done playing, Deng Yu suddenly said, Ningxun, I really want to thank you these days for allowing me to pass the exam smoothly. Otherwise, I really don't know where I could go. Chiao Ningxun, you can't relax yet. Deng Yu was stunned, why? Chiao Ningxun, when you registered for the college entrance examination, the address of the admission notice you filled out should be your parents' home. If they hide the admission notice, it will cause a lot of trouble for you to enroll. Deng Yu nodded, I understand, I will pay close attention to that period of time. Chiao Ningxun said a few more words to her and then sent her back to Deng's house. As soon as the door of Deng's house opened, Li Fangli saw Deng Yu and immediately stepped forward to grab her ears and said viciously, are you really promising? How dare you not go home for 2 days? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 343. Chiao Ningxun's face darkened, and he quickly controlled the temperature of Li Fangli's hand. So just when Li Fangli was about to pull Deng Yu's ears hard, she felt her fingers cramped and immediately let go. Deng Yu was a little confused when he saw Li Fangli let go after touching her ear. What's going on here? Her mother suddenly had a conscience. Impossible. Deng Feiyong frowned and walked forward, what's wrong? It's okay. Li Fangli ignored the discomfort in her hands just now, looked at her daughter coldly, and said sharply, Deng Yu, I think your wings are really stiff. I told you not to take the exam, but you still went. If you don't listen to me, do you still think of me as your mother? Deng Yu looked sad, then do you think of me as your daughter? Other parents are eager for their children to get good grades in the college entrance examination, but you, knowing that my grades are pretty good, don't want me to take the exam. How is it possible in the world? Are there parents who treat their children like this? Doesn't my future matter to you? Li Fangli choked. Deng Feiyong frowned and said, we didn't want you to participate at that time. It was because you were too conceited and were afraid of being offended by others. You actually asked us to send you to take the exam. Your mother and I are both very busy. Where can we have that time? Later it wasn't the case. Did you also take the exam? Haven't you finished it now? Deng Yu said coldly, if my junior sister hadn't come to me, would I still be able to take the afternoon exam on the 7th? If I had gone home on the night of the 7th, I'm afraid you would have locked me in the house the next day and wouldn't allow me to go to the college entrance examination. Actually, I know your purpose. When I was in high school, you often brainwashed me, telling me how much money children from a certain family earn per month after graduating from high school, while those who went to college now earn just 2 to 3,000, saying that there is no point in going to college. You want me to make money for you immediately. But it's not like you can't make money now, and it's not like you have no money to use, and you have been buying pension insurance. Why do you have to make money for you? You are only in your 40s. Deng Feiong frowned and said, "You girl, you dare to question your parents. I'll beat you to death if I don't." With that said, he went home to get a feather duster and wanted to greet Deng Yu. But he doesn't know why. Today's feather duster is like 1,000 jin stone tied to it, and he can't lift it. Xiao Ningxun sneered. She had unlocked gravity control and could control the weight of anything. It can make a feather duster weigh 10,000 jins, or make a stone weighing 10,000 jins as light as a feather. Li Fangli was still proud of herself, but Deng Yu was disobedient. But after waiting for a long time, Deng Feiong didn't come out. He looked inside suspiciously and asked, "What are you writing in there?" Deng Feiong had no choice but to give up the feather duster and come out empty-handed. "Forget it, your classmates are here today, so I won't argue with you and go home quickly." Deng Yu knew from their current attitudes that as long as she entered this house, she would definitely be beaten to death, so she hid behind Xiao Ningxun in fear. Xiao Ningxun suddenly whispered, "Sister Deng Yu, do you want to get rid of them?" Seeing what Deng Yu was going through now, she thought of her previous encounters. Their situations are very similar. Deng Yu nodded without hesitation, "I think so. Since you think about it, it's easy to do." Xiao Ningxun suddenly said, "Sister Deng Yu, do you know why they treat you like this? Don't they treat you like their biological daughter at all?" Deng Yu said blankly, "I don't know." Xiao Ningxun glanced at Deng Feiong and then at Li Fangli. "That's because these two are not your biological parents at all." Deng Yu had a look of shock on his face. Deng Feiong and Li Fangli also widened their eyes. Who is this person? Actually know the secret of their family? Deng Yu was so excited that his whole body trembled, and he said in a trembling voice, You said, I am not their biological daughter." Xiao Ningxun, "Yes, neither of them can have children, and they are both congenitally infertile, so they can get married. After getting married, they moved to other places and lived for a few years. When they came back, you were by their side, therefore, you have never heard rumors from your relatives that you are not your biological child. But they didn't want to care about you at first, so they left you in your hometown and let your grandparents raise you. But they heard that if a child doesn't grow up with them, they won't be very filial in the future, so they took you into their care later. The reason why they adopt you is actually because they want you to provide for them in their old age. The reason why they don't adopt boys is because they feel that daughters are more caring and soft-hearted than sons. The reason why they don't want you to take the college entrance examination is that they are afraid that if you go to a school in another place and have a boyfriend from another place, they will not be able to enjoy your blessings in the future, and they will not be able to let you take care of you when you are sick, and you will not be able to go home often." Deng Yu's eyes suddenly became wet. Is it because of this? She is not a careless person. How could she not care about her parents when she went to another place? If she graduates from a prestigious university, her future income will most likely be higher, which will also allow them to live a better life. Deng Feiong suddenly shouted loudly, "What nonsense are you talking about? Do you believe that I will slap you?" "Slap me," Xiao Ningxun said calmly, "you just try it and see if the law will spare you without a huge settlement fee. I will send you to jail." Deng Feiong's pupils shrank and he immediately took a few steps back. He still knows that it is against the law to hit someone. Li Fangli frowned and said, "You kid, even if you have a good relationship with my daughter, you can't persuade her to disown us? We are her biological parents." Really, Xiaoningsun said coldly, then let's do a paternity test. Deng Yu looked sad and said, yes, do a paternity test. Deng Feiong quickly refused, I won't go, it's too expensive. Li Fangli, that's right, what are you going to do with that wasted money? Xiaoningsun, I'll pay for it. Deng Feiong and Li Fangli looked at each other. What should we do now? Deng Yu looked at the expressions of his adoptive parents, and then thought about the suffering he had suffered since childhood, and cried, it turns out that I am really not your biological child. I said, how could there be biological parents who don't want their children to take the college entrance examination? It turns out that you have your own selfish motives and it really hurts my heart. Li Fangli hurriedly explained, Xiao, don't listen to her nonsense, you are our biological daughter. Deng Yu, then why have you been treating me badly since you were a kid? It's obvious that the two of you have a combined salary of tens of thousands of yuan. Why haven't you bought me any new clothes except for school uniforms since you were a kid? All this time. Let me wear someone else's old clothes. End of chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 344. Deng Feiong and Li Fangli choked and were speechless. Deng Yu added, if I were my biological child, why are you not happy every time I get good grades in school exams? When other people's children get good grades, they either go out to celebrate, or they give me gifts at home. Rewards, why do I get nothing when it's my turn? Sometimes I get slapped by you even after I pass the exam. Why is it that as long as I'm at home, everything I eat is vegetarian, if I'm not at home, you two have a lot of food and fish? Why haven't you taken me out to eat once since I was a kid? And you never take me out to play. Why have I never received the New Year's money from you in all my life? Deng Feiong Li Fangli. Deng Yu said again, do you think yourselves are treating your own children as if they were your own children? Deng Feiong was speechless when he was questioned, and suddenly became angry, whether you are biological or not, we have raised you, so you must treat us as your biological parents and be filial. Li Fangli also said, you are our child. You have been naughty since you were a child. What's wrong with us teaching you a lesson? We are not so kind to you because we don't want to spoil you and make you develop bad habits. You are going too far. Deng Yu cried out loudly. Xiaoningsun, stop crying, I will take you to find your biological parents. The three of them were stunned. Deng Yu asked blankly, do you know where my biological parents are? Xiaoningsun, I know. Deng Feiong mocked, don't believe her, we are your biological parents. Li Fangli also said, that's right, she probably just found a random house and wanted to get you rid of us. Xiaoningsun suddenly took out a paternity test from her backpack, Sister Deng Yu, I'm sorry, when you lived in my house, I used your hair to do the test. You and that family are indeed related by blood. Paternity testing. The three of them were shocked, Xiaoningsun's speed was too fast. Deng Yu excitedly took it over and took a look. Sure enough, more than 99% of the identification was that she was that person's daughter. She looked at the man's name again, is this name my biological father's? Xiaoningsun, yes, if you are willing, I will take you to see him right now. Deng Yu was a little confused, will he meet me? What if they abandoned me in the first place? Xiaoningsun, don't worry, they didn't abandon you, you were stolen from the park by your current parents. They didn't have children at the beginning, so they planned to adopt a child. But for some reasons, they failed to adopt her. So they saw your biological parents taking you to the park to play, and they designed your parents to leave you and take you away. They moved to another place to live, put you near their own house, and then acted like they had picked you up. They called the police again, but the police couldn't find your biological parents they were willing to adopt, so they went through the adoption procedures. Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli looked at each other anxiously. This person is so evil, how come he knows everything? Deng Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, I'll meet you. Chiao Ningxun turned around and left. Deng Yu also quickly followed behind her. Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli suddenly panicked when they saw this. If Deng Yu leaves this time, can he come back in the future? If she left, wouldn't they have spent so much money and energy raising her in vain? Deng Feiyong roared angrily, Deng Yu, if you dare to leave, I won't have a daughter like you in the future. Lai Fangli also threatened, if you leave, don't come back to this house again. Deng Yu paused, hesitated for a few seconds, then turned around and said, if what Jiao Ningxun said is true, you are the culprits who caused the separation between me and my biological parents. Even if you recognize me as your daughter, I will recognize you again, you will be my enemies for the rest of my life. I am over 18 years old and I can make my own decisions in all my affairs. Seeing her leaving without looking back, Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli suddenly became anxious. It was only after the two of them left that they noticed that the neighbors around them had returned at some point, and they didn't know how much they had listened to what Jiao Ningxun said just now. Seeing them all looking at him inquiringly, Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli hurried home and closed the door. The neighbors were talking a lot. The Deng family stole their children to raise, are they human traffickers? The Deng family always likes to ask us for old clothes for Deng Yu to wear. What age are we in now? This is not a poor area. They live in commercial housing and have stable jobs. No wonder they are reluctant to buy new clothes for their children. It turns out they are not their biological children. I heard from downstairs that there was a fierce quarrel in the Deng family the day before yesterday. The Deng family's parents actually didn't want her to take the college entrance examination and locked her up at home. What? This is too disgusting. Hurry back and call the police. We can't let traffickers treat us as neighbors. Who knows if they will go back to their old business of stealing children. That's right, call the police. At this time, as soon as Deng Feiyong got home, he ran to the bedroom anxiously. Lai Fangli asked in confusion, what are you in such a hurry for? Deng Feiyong looked at her with an expression that looked like a fool, are you stupid? That female student has already said that we are human traffickers, and has investigated our situation clearly, and has such a strong sense of justice. Do you think she is not? Will they call the police to arrest us? Lai Fangli was shocked and quickly packed her luggage, cursing as she did so, Deng Yu, that unlucky thing, we shouldn't have adopted her in the first place, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Deng Feiyong said, you might as well say that she should have been sent to the college entrance examination the day before yesterday to take part. If she was not locked up, she would not be able to meet her classmate, and she would not be investigated by her classmate. Lai Fangli stopped talking. It's useless to say anything now. Just waiting for them to pack their bags, there was a knock on the door. Deng Feiyong's heart skipped a beat, and he had an ominous premonition, and he said loudly, who is it? A property. Lai Fangli said anxiously, how can the real estate agent come to the door at this time? We have not owed any fees, and the various pipes were just checked a few days ago. The people outside must be the police. It's over, we're done. Deng Feiyong frowned and said, don't panic. He could only bite the bullet and open the door. Seeing that there were indeed police outside, Deng Feiyong became desperate. Lai Fangli looked at the door and the bag she just held fell to the ground. After showing his ID, a policeman said seriously, are they Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli? End of chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 345. Deng Feiyong and Lai Fangli nodded blankly. You are suspected of child trafficking, please come with us. The two of them knew that there was no use in making excuses, so they had no choice but to be taken away by the police. They regretted it at this time. Denyu wanted them to send her to take the exam, so they sent her to school. Nor will we end up like this. On the other side, after Jiaoningsun took Denyu away, he did not take her to meet her biological parents for the time being, but returned to Tianling community. Jiaoningsun said, "Sister Denyu, it's night now, so it's not a good idea to come to the house. I'll take you there tomorrow morning." In fact, her biological parents are not at home at all now, but they have clues about Denyu, and now they have left their home and rushed here. Now and in the past, we can only make a fuss. Denyu said, "Okay, I listen to you." Jiaoningsun returned to her room, saw the message from her phone, and quickly opened it. "Chu Yanyi, how are you doing recently? Did your cousin's exam go well?" "Jiaoningsun, I'm still the same. My cousin did well in the exam. How are you? When can you come back?" Chu Yanyi was in a cave at this time and glanced at the artifact being forged in the furnace in front of him. "It will probably take another year." "Jiaoningsun, 1 year? Are you busy with your own business?" Chu Yanyi, "No, as I told you last time, my friend had a misunderstanding with his beloved, and I was helping him make up for it. If I didn't help, he would never have a chance." "Jiaoningsun, so that's it. Okay, I won't bother you anymore, but no matter how busy you are, don't let your studies fall behind. As for your company, you have so much money, so don't work so hard, anyway. You can never make enough money, your health is important." Chu Yanyi, "I understand, goodbye." "Jiaoningsun, goodbye." Jiaoningsun put her phone aside, turned on her computer, and looked at her career map. In the past few months, she has been betting on stones many times, so she now has 5 billion in savings. Of course, it was originally more. In addition to expanding the garment factory and contracting more land, she made a lot of investments. For example, she bought houses in prime locations across the country. Invest in several companies, become shareholders, and just wait for dividends every year. In terms of stocks, she has invested more than 1 billion. If all investments and deposits were added up, it might be more than 10 billion. Of course, no one in the family knows this yet. They only know that her garment factory has expanded and has contracted a lot more land. She also knows that with so much cash in hand, it would be a pity not to invest it and let the money make money. But she was alone and didn't want too many things to distract her. It is difficult to start a business and even harder to stay in business. The current Xingxia garment factory is already well known on the internet and in Nanjing, and most of her energy is spent on the garment factory. Her goal is to build Xingxia garment factory into a world-famous brand. When that day comes, maybe she will do something else. Jiaoningsun closed the computer and sighed. As expected, he was still a student. Even with the magical power, making money was very slow. Her money is probably not enough in Sox's eyes. As long as she has not given up on Suo Xingxin, she cannot relax yet. The next day, after Jiaoningsun and Denyu had breakfast, they took her to find her biological parents. Denyu asked, "Junior sister, where are my biological parents from?" "Jiaoningsun, even the people from Nanjing came here today." Denyu was stunned. "Then where are they now?" "Jiaoningsun, you'll know later." "Good." After the two got in the car, Zhang Fushan drove directly to the home of Denyu's adoptive father and adoptive mother. Denyu looked at the route outside and frowned. "This road?" "Jiaoningsun, that's right, just go back to your original home." Denyu panicked. I. Jiaoningsun knew she was afraid. "Don't worry, your adoptive parents have been arrested by the police." Denyu was stunned. "Were they captured?" Jiaoningsun, "Yeah, what we said yesterday was heard by the neighbors, and they called the police." Denyu was in a very complicated mood. I didn't expect that my adoptive parents would end up like this. Xiaoningsun saw that Deng Yu's face looked a little ugly and asked, "Do you blame me? Although they are very excessive, they are the parents who raised you after all." Deng Yu shook his head, "No, although they raised me, they had a purpose, and they were not good to me. If I were weaker, I might not be able to let go. Because of their selfishness, my biological parents have suffered a lot over the years. If I blame you, I would be sorry for my biological parents. They have broken the law and they should atone for their sins." Xiaoningsun smiled. Her help was not in vain, she was a person who could carry it clearly. On the other side, a couple suddenly appeared at the door of Deng Yu's adoptive parents' home. After knocking on the door several times, no one inside responded. Shi Qingshan asked in confusion, "What's going on? Are you all going to work at this time?" Luo Gihua said, "No way, it's only 7 o'clock. Then you probably haven't gotten up yet, so knock again." After Shi Qingshan finished speaking, he started knocking on the door again. At this moment, a neighbor opened the door and asked, "Do you have anything to do with that person?" Luo Gihua quickly smiled and said, "Yes, I'll see them if I have something to do." The neighbor looked wary. "Who are you to them? If they are also traffickers, they will call the police again." Luo Gihua said, "We didn't know each other before. This time it's because there is something important and only they know the news." The neighbor breathed a sigh of relief. "Then don't look for them for the time being. They were taken away by the police yesterday. It seems that they are human traffickers and the daughter they raised was stolen from them." Shi Qingshan asked anxiously, "Then where did the child they stole go?" The neighbor thought about what happened last night and said, "It seems that he was taken away by a girl, probably her classmate. He must be safe now." Luo Gihua asked, "Then do you know where that female classmate lives?" The neighbor shook his head, "I don't know. This is the first time I've seen a child from this family bring his classmates over. In the past, this family never allowed their children to bring their classmates home, saying they were afraid that the classmates would make the house dirty and lose things. Once the child brought a classmate back and was discovered by her parents. After the classmate left, she was beaten so hard that she couldn't get out of bed for a week and couldn't study for a week." Another neighbor also came out and said, "Yes, I still remember that it was the final exam at that time, but even if she didn't go to school for a week, the girl still ranked third in the whole grade, which impressed me very deeply." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 346. Luo Gihua said anxiously, "Husband, what should we do now? We finally got the news and rushed over, but they were all taken away. They suddenly received a strange phone call last night, saying they could find their daughter here. They wanted to ask for more information, but the call was already hung up over there. When he called back, the person on the other end of the phone said that his phone was a public phone and there were so many people calling every day that he really couldn't remember who had called in the past." Shi Qingshan held his wife's hand and said comfortingly, "Don't worry, we will go to the police station and explain the situation, and the police will definitely help us." "Good." As soon as Luo Gihua finished speaking, the neighbor suddenly looked behind them and shouted, "They are back." The couple were stunned and suddenly turned their heads to look. Seeing two girls, they looked at the one on the left, then at the one on the right, and finally their eyes rested on Deng Yu. The one on the left, they seemed to have seen it before. Xiaoningsun looked at Deng Yu, "Aren't you looking for your biological parents? They are the ones." To be honest, Deng Yu only found out yesterday that he was not the biological child of the Deng family. Compared with those children who knew that they were not biological children since they were young, Deng Yu's thoughts about finding relatives were much shallower. So when she saw the couple in front of her, she felt very complicated. Overnight, she actually changed her parents. Luo Gihua quickly stepped forward and hugged Denyu. "My child, we have found you." Shi Qingshan looked at his child and couldn't help wiping his tears. "It's great if we find it. We finally don't have to look for the child everywhere in the future." Denyu was hugged and felt uncomfortable all over. Seeing this, Shi Qingshan patted his wife and said, "Okay, don't scare the child." Luo Gihua let go of her daughter. Seeing that her whole body was a little stiff, she took a few steps back in embarrassment. "No, I'm sorry, I'm just too excited." The neighbor next to him still hoped that Denyu would find his biological parents, and said with a smile, "You have just met, so it is normal for you to be a little unfamiliar. I think you should get a paternity test immediately. With the test certificate, your future the relationship will definitely become closer." Shi Qingshan said, "We have already done the appraisal, and we only came here after we were sure." The fact that their daughter was lost is not a secret, many people know about it. Their boss came to them before and said that they might have found their biological daughter. But in order not to affect the lives of both parties, let them provide hair. If it is confirmed that it is their biological daughter, then arrange for them to meet. They also feel that their boss is right. Meeting before they have decided will indeed have a great impact on the lives of both parties. So they agreed to do the appraisal. After getting the appraisal certificate, their boss told their daughter's current address, and they hurried over. The neighbor smiled and said, "So that's it? Congratulations on your family reunion." Shi Qingshan also smiled and nodded, "Thank you very much." The neighbors stopped disturbing them, closed the door, and left the space to them. Shi Qingshan looked at Denyu and said hesitantly, "Your current name is Denyu, right?" Denyu nodded, "Yes, what is my real name?" Shi Qingshan, "It's called Shi Xiao." Shi Xiao. Denyu smiled bitterly, "I guess they heard you calling me my name when they kidnapped me, and they didn't even bother to give me a new name." Luo Gihua said, "Child, don't worry, we will definitely hold them accountable. We also know what you suffered on the way here. Don't worry, we will make it up to you in the future." Denyu, "No," Shi Xiao said with a smile, "Well, I know." Luo Gaifan asked expectantly, "Then will you come home with me now?" Shi Xiao nodded, "Okay." Luo Gihua was so happy that she took her daughter and went downstairs. Shi Xiao turned around and said, "My classmates are still here." Shi Qingshan looked at Jiaoning Xuan, "This classmate, why do I feel that you are very familiar to me, as if I have seen you somewhere?" Jiaoning Xuan smiled and said, "I guess you met me when I went to the garment factory. I am your new boss." Shi Qingshan was stunned for a moment, then he immediately reacted and said politely, "I'm sorry, boss, I didn't recognize you." Luo Gihua asked doubtfully, "She is your boss?" Shi Qingshan nodded, "Yes, it's just that I rarely see the boss, so I didn't think of it just now." Luo Gihua suddenly had a guess, "That means you asked our boss to provide test samples for paternity testing." Jiaoning Xuan nodded. Shi Qingshan and Luo Gihua hurriedly bowed to Jiaoning Xuan, "Thank you, boss." Jiaoning Xuan said indifferently, "It's nothing." Shi Qingshan asked, "Boss, how did you know that Xiao is our biological child?" Jiaoning Xuan, "I can tell fortunes and figure them out. If you need fortune telling again in the future, you can come to me, but you will be charged next time, 3,000 a time. It is enough for a good person to be fooled twice, but only 3 times. If she helps for free, others will think she is easy to handle." Shi Qingshan didn't think a child could tell fortunes. He just assumed that she didn't want to tell the specific reasons and didn't take it seriously. "So that's it? Boss, let's treat you to dinner." Jiaoning Xuan, "No need, senior sister will live in your house from now on. She probably doesn't want to take everything back from the Deng family." You can take her to buy some daily necessities. Luo Gihua nodded quickly, yes, let's go now. Chiao Ningxun still had something to do, so after leaving the Deng family's community, she separated from them. Shi Xiao moved to the Shi family starting from today. There is only one child in the Shi family, so she will not be wronged by her brothers and sisters when she goes back. Afterwards, they also cooperated with several police interviews. Although the Shi family promised that they would support her in college, she still insisted on working. It happened that the garment factory was recruiting temporary workers to pack clothes, and it also gave priority to the children of its employees, so Shi Xiao went to work in Xingxia garment factory. The daily salary is 120 yuan, which is considered good in Nanjing in 2017. As for the Deng family and his wife, they will all be sentenced to more than 5 years in prison. After his biological son finished his college entrance examination, Ping Anan also began to settle accounts. At this time, Ping An's sister-in-law and her family were discussing at home whether to celebrate their child. She also fulfilled her promise and quietly started the live broadcast. Come, I'm here to watch the show. After waiting for a long time, I thought I was being let go. This anchor is true to his word, which is not bad. No more talking, let's watch the show. There are many people in this family. I feel like today's show will be exciting. Hu Qianqian looked at her son's grade test paper with a depressed look. In my opinion, there is nothing to celebrate. This is just a grade evaluation. You may not be able to go to Huaxia University. It's just Huaxia University. After graduation, can you find a good job? Work is still a problem. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 347. Zheng Dao frowned and said, we must celebrate. Of the 3 children, our child has the highest score. Don't look down on Huaxia University. Haven't you heard that the minimum salary for Huaxia University graduates is 10,000 yuan a month? Hu Qianqian said disdainfully, but I heard that some people who graduate from Huaxia University go to raise pigs. Mr. Zheng was dissatisfied and said, Boss, my wife, I have decided on this matter. I will celebrate when my child is admitted to Huaxia University. Hu Qianqian choked and couldn't say anything. Suddenly, she smiled and said, Dad, you said at the beginning that whoever of your 3 grandchildren is admitted to Huaxia University will be rewarded with 1 million yuan. You must have remembered it, right? Mr. Zheng stroked his beard and glanced at his eldest daughter-in-law coldly, I haven't forgotten. Hu Qianqian was overjoyed, since you are sure that my son can be admitted to Huaxia University, please give me the money first. This person should be the one who changed the children. It should be her. The old man calls her his eldest daughter-in-law. She looks sharp and mean, and she looks like a bad person. If you want 1 million, just dream, this money should be given to Ping Anan. Yes, it is really bad to rob other people's children, let your own children live a good life for more than 10 years, and now want to rob other people's mother's money. Expose her quickly, I'm so anxious. Don't worry, everyone, the anchor definitely wants to give her a fatal blow at the right time. Mr. Zheng said, when the admission notice arrives, I will give it to you myself. Ping Pingan looked at his adopted son and suddenly said, are you envious? Your second cousin's grades are usually better than yours, because you estimate that we have the lowest score, and we may only have 300,000. She didn't want to be so mean. But she felt suffocated when she thought that she had spent so much effort on other people's sons, and that her biological son could still do so well in the exam despite being bullied by other people's families. Zheng Kaiuquan said aggrievedly, Mom, I'm envious, but don't talk about me. My cousin's grades have always been better than mine. I've known for a long time that I couldn't beat him in the college entrance examination. Ping Ping wanted to say something more, but seeing that he was so wronged, it was hard to scold him too much. Even though he is someone else's child, he was raised in her hands. Besides Zheng Qiuquan's bad grades, his character is still very good, and he is usually very filial to her. Hu Qianqian saw her biological son lowering his head, fearing that he would be wronged, and hurriedly said, "Don't talk about the child, he may not be good at studying, but your family's business is doing well now, let him take over your business, in the future business will be fine." When her own son takes over completely and holds all the money in the third family's family, she will then recognize him and ask him to give him money to spend. At the same time, she hid the truth from her third son. When the time comes, she will have two sons who will be filial to her, and she will definitely have more money than she can spend. Just thinking about her makes her happy. When the third daughter-in-law is old and about to die, if she tells the truth, she will definitely be angry to death. Haha. Her plan is really perfect and she is so smart. Ping Ping mocked, "You mean that Zheng Qiuquan cannot go to college, but just start now and let him work around us?" "No," Hu Qianqian said quickly, "although his scores are not good, with your ability, it is still possible for him to attend a private school. But in my opinion, you also have money, so you might as well enroll him in a pair of, just ask him to retake the cram school for 1 year and then take the exam." Zheng Qiuquan hurriedly said, "I don't want to repeat my studies, I don't go to college, and I don't want to take over a business. I am too tired in my senior year of high school, so just let me rest for a while. I want to travel. Give me money and let me, can't we travel around the world?" "If you say no, you can't." Hu Qianqian would never allow her biological child's academic qualifications to stop at high school graduation. "You can go to a regular university or repeat your studies, whichever you choose." Seeing Hu Qianqian's strong tone, everyone looked at her in confusion. Ping Ping looked even more sarcastic. Mr. Zheng frowned and said, "Boss, my wife, the third child is not your child. His parents didn't say anything. Why are you worrying here?" Ping Ping sneered and said, "That's right, you care so much about Zheng Qiuquan, and you actually think you are her biological mother." A flash of panic flashed across Hu Qianqian's eyes, and she quickly explained, What are you talking nonsense about? As his aunt, I think it would be a pity if this child does not go to college." Zheng Dao also said, "Yeah, she probably thinks that Zheng Qiuquan will be the only one in the family who is not a college student. She is worried that he will regret it when he becomes sensible in the future. By then it will be too late to regret." "Really?" Ping said calmly, "Well, if you think about him so much, why not do this? If Zheng Qiuquan really gets admitted to Huaxia University, you can use the 1 million that the old man gave you to find him all over the world. The best teacher to review for the year." Others shook their heads. As a sister-in-law, Hu Qianqian is very frugal in her daily life. She never even meets her own son's requirements, let alone pays for other people's sons to study. Hu Qianqian looked very ugly. "You are Zheng Qiuquan's mother, why do you want me to pay?" "I have no money," Ping said calmly, "I have lost a lot of money in the stock market recently, and a lot of payment has not been returned. When the results come out, the old man will give me 300,000, which is just enough to fill the hole in the stock market." Hu Qianqian was shocked and said, "You mean, you won't let Zheng Qiuquan repeat his studies, you won't let him do business, and you will let him play at home from now on?" Ping nodded, "Yes, this is the life he wants. He is still young, so it doesn't matter if we let him play for a few years." She said this, but in her heart she actually wanted her adopted son to repeat the course. Although a high degree of education may not necessarily lead to a high income, it must not be without it. "Absolutely not," Hu Qianqian said excitedly, "that's your child. Children of his age are either studying or working, but you let him idle around at home every day. Aren't you going to destroy him?" You still not his biological mother. Ping Ping and mocked, you really look like his own mother. Hu Qianqian was startled, knowing that she had lost her composure again, and stammered, what are you talking about? I said, I am just an elder, and I don't want to see him destroy himself. Ping Anan looked at Mr. Zheng, Dad, you have seen what happened just now, and you can prove that everything I said is true. She is indeed more concerned about my child than her own child. Now you should be sure that the appraisal certificate I gave you is not a forgery. End of chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 348. Hu Qianqian and Zheng Dao looked at each other in shock. What does this mean? Does she know that Zheng Qiuquan is not her biological son? And also secretly took a paternity test? Mr. Zheng said angrily, boss's wife, kneel down. The two of them did not dare to disobey the old man's order, so they had to kneel down honestly. Dad, what mistake did we make? On such a good day, do you want the juniors to see our jokes like this? That's right, Dad, as the father of my child may have given you face today, but why did you ask me to kneel down instead? It's the couple who should kneel down. Look at what they have taught their children. Mr. Zheng said solemnly, I have seen how much the youngest couple has paid for their children's studies. He has never lacked tutoring since he was a child, but his grades are still so poor. It's not them, it's not a concern, but the child is really not good at reading. The couple choked, thinking of the money the couple spent on Zheng Qiuquan. It was hard to say anything else. Zheng Qiuquan was also helpless. He was really not a student. Zheng Dao asked, Dad, why do you want us to kneel down? Mr. Zheng took out a document and threw it in front of the couple. Look at this paternity test for yourselves. Wow, this means that Ping Anan has been appraised. It should be, haha, the scene today is really good. The boss and his wife are really stupid. I still haven't guessed why they were asked to kneel down. They are self-righteous, thinking that no one will know what they do in this life. The two of them opened the file and took a look, and immediately collapsed on the ground. Zheng Dao said sarcastically, Dad, do you all know about this? Mr. Zheng sneered, it seems that your wife has also told you about this. Zheng Dao nodded, yes. Mr. Zheng, when did you know about it? Zheng Dao, when Zheng Qiuquan was 1 year old. He is not a fool either. His wife's attitude towards her son is really very different from her attitude towards her 3 younger siblings. Because his wife has been neglecting his son and being kind to the children of his third brother and sister, and he has been suspicious of her for many times. At first he thought it was because his wife liked the third brother and loved the house and the bird, so she liked the third brother's child. When the child was 1 year old, his wife admitted it to him after he pressed him. Mr. Zheng suddenly slapped Zheng Dao, you are confused, your wife is confused, and you are confused too. Zheng Dao didn't dare to move and knelt down obediently, Dad, I was wrong. Ping Ping and cried and said, Dad, you must make the decision for our family of 3. This Hu Qianqian, in order to let her children live a good life, actually separated me and my biological child for more than 10 years, and she also wants to. It's really abominable to rely on my own son to make money for her. Zheng Qiushan asked in confusion, what's going on? Zheng Yirou also looked puzzled, Dad, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand you at all? That's it? Ping Ping and told her about Hu Qianqian's change of children. That's it, Zheng Qiushan is actually my son, and Zheng Qiuquan is the son of the boss Zheng Dao. The air suddenly became quiet. Zheng Yirou, the second oldest, looked at the people kneeling on the ground in astonishment. Brother and sister-in-law, how could you do such a thing? You are really going too far. Zheng Dao lowered his head and said nothing. Zheng Qiushan and Zheng Qiuquan were also shocked. Their current parents are actually not their biological parents. Qiaoningsun suddenly entered the live broadcast room and cast a truth spell on Hu Jianqian. Hu Qingzi straightened up and suddenly said, "I just want my biological son to live a good life. Am I wrong?" When the child was born, Zheng Dayu's monthly salary was only a few hundred yuan, and I didn't have a job. It was impossible to raise the child well with that money. But the third brother's business was improving at that time, and he had an income of at least 3,000 to 4,000 a month. The third brother and sister also wore gold and silver every day, and ate big fish and meat every day. His family's conditions were good, and the child was not born yet. Imported milk powder is prepared for the child. I was really envious when I saw it, and I felt sorry that my child would suffer when he came out of my belly, so I tried to find a way to have 2 children. Zheng Qiushan clenched his fists, thinking about the past. He broke down and said, "So, you think that I am not your biological son, and you are also afraid that I am more promising than your biological son, so you have not allowed me to study hard, and you often make trouble for me when I study. For as long as I can remember, you've asked me to do housework. Other children can rest, study, and do what they want during the holidays, but I am the only one who is forced to take care of you too. As long as I'm at home, you two have never entered the kitchen, never touched the washing powder, or touched the broom. You all ask me to serve you. After graduating from junior high school, I was told not to go to high school during the college entrance examination. I was not even allowed to take the college entrance examination. Fortunately, my third uncle, no, my biological father came to see me at that time, otherwise I would definitely be preparing to repeat my studies now. Even if I am not your biological child, I was raised by you. Don't you have any feelings for me? Do you want to destroy me so much?" Hu Jianqian said excitedly, "It is true that I have no feelings. I know you are not my biological son, so why do I have feelings for you? I have no blood relationship with you. And if you become successful, it will only make my biological son more stupid. I'm crazy to have feelings for you." Zheng Qiushan burst into tears. No matter how hateful Hu Jianqian was to him in the past, he always regarded her as his biological mother. But he didn't expect that the mother he thought was his biological mother really didn't like him at all. No wonder he has never received maternal love from Hu Jianqian since he was a child. "Let me go, this person is too much." He was a child she had watched grow up. How could he talk like this? A person who looks mean and speaks meanly should be alone all his life. I just don't know what her biological son will think of her. If I were her biological son, I would hate her. Yes, if you have never lived a good life, it probably won't be a big deal, but if you suddenly go from a family with good conditions to a family with poor conditions, you will definitely not be able to adapt and will be resentful. Ping Pingan stepped forward and hugged Zheng Qiushan. "Son, you have been wronged. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of you and let you live a hard life in her house for so many years." Zheng Qiushan has felt that his third aunt was very kind since he was a child, and he also thought that it would be great if he were her child. But he didn't expect that what he thought was an unrealistic idea turned out to be true. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 349. Zheng Qiushan also hugged Ping Anan. "Mom, I am not wronged. You are very good. You have been very good to me since I was a child. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't hate you." Zheng Sanyu said anxiously, "My child, do you hate me?" "I don't hate it," Zheng Qiushan said. "You were also deceived, and I don't blame you." The couple breathed a sigh of relief. Ping Pingan looked at Hu Jianqian resentfully. in the past 10 years or so, you have watched me devote all my energy and money to your son. You must be very proud, right? Hearing this, Hu Jianqian deliberately provoked Ping Anan. Of course, I have roughly calculated over the years that you have spent at least millions on my son. And I have spent at most tens of thousands on your son. You don't know, but I bought many of the clothes he wore since childhood. Those clothes, each piece of clothing, does not exceed 20 yuan. Because the clothes were cheap and second-hand, he was often annoyed at school. What we eat is often the leftovers we eat. The two of us often carry him out to eat delicious food, and we have never taken him out for a meal except for invitations from family and friends. Ping Pingan looked at his son in shock. Really? She actually treats you so harshly? Zheng Qiuquan also looked at Hu Jianqian in surprise. Is this my own mother? His adoptive mother wanted to give him the best things in the world. Zheng Qiuquan felt very guilty when he thought that while he was enjoying happiness, his brother was suffering. Zheng Qiuquan said with a smile, "It's okay. It's all over. Those who laughed at me didn't get as good as me. I probably won't interact with them again in the future." Ping Pingan suddenly stepped forward and wanted to beat Hu Jianqian. Seeing this, Zheng Sanya quickly stopped his wife. "Don't do it. She deliberately provoked you. If you do it, she will sue you for beating her, and you will also be in trouble. She has violated the law by deliberately changing the children. Let the law punish her." Ping Pingan gritted his teeth and said, "Just letting the law punish her is too easy for her." Mr. Zheng said, "My third daughter-in-law, I know it is difficult for you to forgive her. I will give you an explanation." As he said that, he looked at Zheng Dao and said solemnly, "You two have done this kind of thing, and I have to give an explanation to the third child." Zheng Dao said with a grimace, "I know, Dad, just do whatever you want." Mr. Zheng's face softened a little. The eldest son was finally saved. I said at the beginning that based on the college entrance examination scores of the three children, they would be given 1,500,000 and 300,000 respectively. You two did this well. When the results come out, I will give all of your money to the third child. Do you have any objection?" Zheng Dao, "No objection." Hu Jianqian wanted to protest, but the old man glared at her and swallowed her words. "Mr. Zheng, now your third brother's business is having some difficulties. You were not as good as your third brother back then, but I know that you have worked very hard over the years and you have been treating Xiaoshan harshly. You have a lot of money in your hands, so you will give me extra money. Give your third brother 300,000 yuan as compensation." Zheng Dao thought that his third brother had indeed spent a lot of money on his own son, so he did not hesitate and said, "Okay, I will listen to you." "No," Hu Qiuquan said, "that's our money, how can we give it to others?" Mr. Zheng frowned, "You don't even listen to what I say." Hu Qingzi saw the old man's cold eyes, her body trembled, and she could only nod reluctantly. "Okay, I agree. The identities of the two children must be changed, and the names do not need to be changed, but the household registration must be changed, and you must cooperate." "I agree. There is one last request," Mr. Zheng continued. "Boss, you must divorce Hu Jianqian." Hu Jianqian said anxiously, "No, I won't get divorced. If I get divorced, how will I live? I've never gone out to work in my life. If I get divorced, I will starve to death." "Mr. Zheng, that's your business, I don't care about it. But as a healthy woman with hands and feet, you can always make money if you go to work in the future." "No," Hu Qingzi said excitedly, "I won't divorce." After saying that, she looked at Zheng Qiuquan and said, "Xiaoshan, I am the one who raised you after all. Even though I wasn't very nice to you, I didn't starve you to death. I also made you grow up and graduate from high school. So did I spent energy and money on you." Ping Pingan stopped in front of Zheng Qiuquan and frowned. then I also raised your son and spent money on your son. How did I treat your son, and how did you treat my son? He didn't owe you, but you owe him. Hu Qianqian choked and was speechless. After thinking about it, she looked at Zheng Qiuquan again. Xiaoquan, everything I do is for you. Please beg your grandpa, don't let me divorce your dad, okay? Zheng Qiuquan has hated Hu Qianqian since he was a child. In the past, he thought that Hu Qianqian must be fawning over him because his family's conditions were better. Unexpectedly, she actually exchanged him on purpose. He became irritable thinking about leaving his original home and returning to his uncle's house. Moreover, he didn't like his uncle and aunt at all. If he suddenly lived under the same roof with them, it would be better to let him die. Zheng Qiuquan said with an indifferent expression, "You ruined me, I won't plead for mercy, I hate you." Hu Qinqian's face turned pale and she said in disbelief, "You actually hate me? I'm all here to make you live a good life? Have you not had a good life these years? You have new clothes and new shoes every now and then, and you have been well clothed and well fed since you were a child. It's all because of me that you have these." Zheng Qiuquan said, "If I were by your side, wouldn't you buy it for me? Wouldn't you give me delicious food? What the third aunt can do, can't you do it for me?" Hu Qianqian choked. Mr. Zheng asked, "Boss, do you agree?" Zheng Dao glanced at his wife and sighed, "I promise, if she doesn't want to, I will go to the court to sue her." Okay, Mr. Zheng nodded with satisfaction. "Now, just wait for the police to arrive." Hu Qianqian was stunned. "Dad, did you call the police?" "That's right. I am your daughter-in-law and the mother of your grandson, and you actually called the police to arrest me. So what, you did break the law?" Hu Qianqian looked at Ping Anan and said, "As long as she doesn't pursue the case, won't it be fine? If I have a criminal record, your grandson will have no chance to be associated with the state unit in the future." Ping Anan mocked, "You have caused me so much pain, caused my son to suffer so much, and suffered so many grievances. Why don't I pursue it?" End of chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 350. Zheng Qiuquan said, "My biological mother, you take it too much for granted. I'm so thankful that I got 200 points in the college entrance examination. Do you still expect me to enter a national unit? Wake up." Hu Qianqian cried and said, "But I am your mother, you can't just watch me go to jail." Zheng Qiuquan glanced at Ping Anan and said uncomfortably, "I am just a mother, and I recognize her as my mother. You abandoned me, and I don't want you." After all, Ping Anan couldn't let go of Zheng Qiuquan, who he had raised since childhood, and said sternly, "Don't worry, after you go to jail, I won't ignore Xiaoquan. She has called me mom for more than 10 years, and I can't let go of him. His future, I will pave the way for him." Zheng Qiuquan was overjoyed and looked at Ping Anan eagerly. "Mom, can I really call you mom in the future?" Ping Anan smiled and said, "Of course you can. From now on, you and Xiao Shan will both be my sons. A child who has grown up with urine and feces cannot be given up so easily as a mother." Zheng Qiuquan looked at Zheng Qiushan again, and when he saw him nodding, he suddenly hugged them. "That's great, that's great. Mr. Zheng is also very pleased that the three daughter-in-law arrangement is fine." Hearing this, Hu Qianqian stood up with a sinister look on her face and said, "Third daughter-in-law, you are going too far. You already have a son, why are you trying to steal my biological son?" Ping Anan mocked, "I will return this sentence to you intact." Hu Qinqian's face turned red. Just as she was about to say something, there was a knock on the door. Zheng Iriu quickly opened the door and let the police in. The old policeman said, "We received a call saying that someone here exchanged babies more than 10 years ago." "Who called the police?" Ping Anan raised his hand. Mr. Police, I called the police. Here's what happened. The old policeman waved his hand, and two young female policemen stepped forward to arrest Hukinsey. Hukinsey suddenly became desperate when she saw that she had really been caught. She didn't struggle and was taken away quickly. I am relieved, I was finally caught by the police. Today's live broadcast is very good for my breasts. Will that person be sentenced? Yes, if the family gave a letter of understanding, would she still be sentenced? Ping-pingin, don't worry, I'm not that generous. I won't give you a letter of understanding. She will definitely be sentenced. That's good, don't let her go. That is, putting her in jail is to eliminate harm for the people. Ping-anan, I still need to go to the police station, so I'll broadcast it first. Go. After Ping-anan went offline, some friends discovered that Chang Sheng and Chang Sheng were live broadcasting. Those people immediately poured into her live broadcast room again. Anchor, you are also online. Did you see everything just now? Ping-anan's sister-in-law was taken away. Qiaoning Suan, I saw it, from beginning to end. Anchor, what will be the outcome of that person in the future? Qiaoning Suan, I can't say the specific direction. I can only say that after she was released from prison, her life was not very good. Not only was it bad, a few days before he was released from prison, he was diagnosed with gastric cancer, and it was in the late stage. After being released from prison, there is nowhere to go but to return to her parents' home. Her mother-in-law's family disliked her as a person who had been in prison and was embarrassed at home, so they didn't care about her at all. She couldn't stand the looks from her mother's family, so she had to go to her ex-husband and son. It's just that the community was demolished again. His ex-husband, son, and other members of the Zheng family had already moved away. All the houses in the original community have been turned into office buildings, and there is no trace of her life inside. She wanted to ask people around her, but she suddenly fell ill on the way and was sent to the hospital. The doctors tried their best to save him, but the man still didn't wake up, so he passed away. After her son found out, he took her body to the crematorium, cremated her and buried her, and never took care of her again. Her biological son still lives with Zheng Sanyu. Zheng Dao remarried his wife after his divorce. He lived so comfortably every day that he had long forgotten about her. The anchor is selling things off again. Anchor, I really want to hear it, just say it. Everyone, please understand that the anchor is quite fond of fans, and she will definitely say what needs to be said. Qiaoning Sun sighed, if I tell you, there will be changes. Okay, then I won't embarrass the anchor. Will the anchor tell fortune today? Qiaoning Sun, forget it, today we only count the people who are destined to be together. Everyone will post that the anchor family is going well. I will select 3 people from among the people who have spoken. One account can only post 1 sentence, and you are not allowed to swipe the screen. All those who swipe the screen will be cancelled qualifications. As soon as she finished speaking, her live broadcast room was filled with the words "Everything goes well for the host and her family." Qiaoning Sun glanced at it and said, "Congratulations on witnessing the miracle." Witnessing the miracle, he was stunned. He just gave it a try, but he didn't expect to be chosen. He hurriedly paid, then opened the live broadcast and applied for a connection. Soon, the 2 live broadcast rooms were connected. Qiaoning Sun saw a man in his 30s appearing in the live broadcast room. Witness the miracle, hello, host. Qiaoning Sun, hello, what do you want to do? Witness the miracle, anchor, you have also seen that I am already 35 and will celebrate my 36th birthday soon. I also have triplets, but our combined income as a husband and wife is only 6,000 apiece. Moon. The 6,000 yuan is needed to support the education of 3 5-year-old children, the rent, and the living expenses of our family of 5. Moreover, Both of our parents are still alive and we don't have pensions. Every time someone in the family gets sick, we have to bear a debt. We were so exhausted that my wife and I wanted to jump off the building several times and die. But when we think about our 3 lovely children and our parents, we don't dare to die. If this continues, we will definitely not be able to find a wife for our children, and we will have no hope in this life. I just want to ask, can we too still make a lot of money in this life? If not, what changes do we need to make? Triples. It is indeed quite expensive to raise. Yeah, they are only 5 years old now, and their life is so hard. They will have more money to spend when they grow up. It's scary to think about it. But triplets are rare. If it were me, I would have to support them to grow up even if they eat bran every day. Eating glutinous rice every day will make people feel hopeless. We live and work hard to make money, isn't it often just for food? Yeah, I care about eating the most. If I can't eat the food I like every day, living will really make life worse than death. Chiao Ningxun glanced at the face that witnessed the miracle, counted his fingers, and said seriously, "One of your children must have passed away." End of this chapter.